Hello students, welcome to Ms. Lopez's ESL class. I'm very excited to work with all of you this upcoming semester. And I'm also excited for you to learn about the English language. For our first day of class, I wanted to make it fun. So before we get started and to today's lesson, I wanted to do mini self-introductions. I will go first and then have you guys go. So the way we'll do this is you will first state your first name, what you will do after this class with your new English skills, and also 2 interesting facts about yourself. It could be your future educational plans, what you plan to do after this class, or places you like to travel. And before we get into self-introductions, I also wanted to make it clear that this is an intermediate and advanced level class. Before taking this class, you needed to pass 2 prior English classes. So in this class, we'll go over some complex topics and grammatical concepts in English, but don't worry, I'll be here along the way to guide you and to help you learn. So if you have any questions or need any help, additional materials will be provided online along with scheduling meetings with me. Okay, class, so before we get started with instruction, we'll go ahead and do our quick self-introductions, and I'll be the first one to go. Hello, class. My name is Michelle Amber Lopez. I attended Long Beach State. And let's see, 2 interesting facts about myself. I own a corgi named Douglas, and I love to thrift on a monthly basis because it helps me save more money. So we'll go ahead and start with the closest student next to me, who's Giselle Medina. So she'll go ahead and tell you a little short introduction about herself.
Hi, my name is Giselle Medina. I will use these English skills to talk to other professionals in the future. And 2 interesting facts about me is that I want to become a forensic pathologist and I want to attend UCLA College.
Great. So that sounds good. So this English class will help our fellow classmate here learn how to maybe talk to future potential professionals to become a forensic pathologist in the future. So after our self-introductions, we'll go around the room and we'll go ahead and get started with our first lesson for today, which is working on how we talk to potential employers in the future and how we walk into an interview. So we'll go ahead and do that after the whole class does their self-intros. Okay, so for today's lesson, we're going to go ahead and work on self-introductions when it comes to meeting a potential employer. So the way this is going to work is that I'm going to go ahead and pretend I'm walking into an office. I'm going to shake Giselle's hand and show all of you guys how this is supposed to work, how my voice is, the tone of my voice, my body language, and how firm my handshake is. All this coming together, it really matters when we're doing walking into an interview. If we walk in like this, or if we walk in looking mad, or if we walk in looking kind of awkward, I think the employer will take this as, will maybe think we're not interested in the job, or we're just doing this out of necessity. Although money is a necessity, and the reason why we go into interviews, we also want to look just professional. So we look motivated and confident enough as we're walking into the office. So I'm gonna go ahead and do a fake interview, pretend I'm walking into an interview with the student right here. And so I'm gonna go from here, walk in, and shake Mr. Kim's hand. This is Mr. Kim. I'm the interviewee. This is the interviewer. Okay, so I'm walking in. Hello, Mr. Kim. Nice to meet you. I'm Michelle. I'm here for the job interview for secretary position, and I came to hand in my resume. And then you would just say, "Oh, thank you. Very nice to meet you. You can go ahead and sit down and wait to be called." Something like that. That's usually how walk-in interviews go. So before we go into the actual mock interviews, I'm going to go ahead and state to the class the goals of this lesson, why we are learning how to do a short little walk-in introduction to our potential employers, and also tell you what you'll be able to learn and do after we learn the interview. So our goals for this class, I wrote it down on the board, and I'll go ahead and state it to the whole class. Students will be able to identify the do's and don'ts of self-introductions. So as I stated earlier, we will not walk into the interview slouched up. We have to walk in with a straight back, make sure we have a little smile, not a like really big one to where it looks kind of awkward, but you know, to make sure you look happy that you're at the interview and that you got the chance to interview. And also, students will be able to properly introduce themselves. So after we go over the mock interviews, I'll do one in front of the class with a student, and also you will do one with each other. After that, we will talk about what was hard about the interview, or maybe something that the class did not understand. So before we get started, I will go ahead and do a fake interview in front of the class. So you guys could see maybe how this is done and not be so confused about how to write down your script. I will hand the class some note cards. So I'll go ahead and start with Giselle, and Giselle will pass the rest out to the class. And after that, we will pick partners and go ahead and interview each other. After that, one pair of students will come up and display a mock interview in front of the class to show the class the way they did their interview and what they wrote down in their interview. So we'll go ahead and get started. Okay, class, so I'm sitting down because I'm going to pretend to do a fake interview with our fellow classmate here, Giselle Medina. I will be the interviewee, and she will be the interviewer. So I'll go ahead and start, and then she will follow along with the script that I wrote for both of us. Okay, so hello, Mr. Ken. My name is Michelle Lopez. It is very nice to meet you, Mr. Ken. I'm here to interview for the assistant job position. I brought my resume for you to review. And then you'll go ahead and say it.
It is very nice to meet you too, Ms. Lopez. We are very excited to have you here. We will conduct in-person interviews after we review your resume, so be expecting a call from us within a few days.
Okay, great. Thank you so much for taking the time to review my resume. I am looking forward to being interviewed by your company. After that, we'll go ahead and shake hands, smile at each other, and then I will go ahead and exit the interview doors or wherever I'm at. So after this, we will pair up with the partner and take the note cards I gave you, and also make sure to write down your script. This will help you memorize what you're going to say, so you're not, thinking about it on the spot. Sometimes it's very hard to think on the spot, and students feel a little less scared and intimidated if they know what they're going to say. After that, I'll take one volunteer so we can, so they can model for us in front of the class, and then we'll go ahead and wrap today's lesson up. Okay, so before we get started, we actually have, or before we go further with our class, we actually have a group that decided to volunteer for interviews. So before our group comes up and shows you guys how these interviews are conducted, I want the whole class to listen to the voice intonation, what is being said, how their body language is, and pay attention to all that, because that is all important when it comes to presenting ourselves for the first time to our future employers. So before we get started, make sure to take out a piece of paper, maybe write some notes down, write a reflection, 2 things about what you learned, and then we'll go ahead and regroup again after we have our mock interviewees come up and do their fake interview. Go ahead and just... Okay, so...
I begin, right?
Huh?
I begin?
Yeah. So you walk in, pretend I'm...
Hello, my name is Giselle Medina. It's very nice to meet you, Ms. Lopez. I'm here to interview for the assistant job position. I brought my resume for you to review.
Great. Hi. Nice to meet you, Miss Medina. It is very nice to meet you, too, Miss Medina. We are excited to have you here. We will conduct in-person interviews after we review your resume, so be expecting a call from us within a few days. Oh yeah, go on.
Okay, great. Thank you so much for taking the time to review my resume. I am looking forward to being interviewed by your company.
Great, thank you. Be expecting a call from us within a few days. Okay, class, so we finished our first lesson of the day. I hope it wasn't too hard, and I hope you all had fun with this. We will have to regroup and come to the center of the room again. so we can talk about what we learned and how important these interviews are. So as I stated at the beginning of the class, I stated why these mock interviews are important, and I'll go ahead and say it one more time. These interviews are very important because it will teach us what language to use, our voice intonation, and how to conduct ourselves when walking in and introducing ourselves to a potential employer. These are situations that make us very nervous, so we want to make sure to be able to be prepared for these kinds of things. And since I wanted you guys to reflect and also learn something from this, I'm going to take a volunteer to tell me 5 things they learned while doing these mock interviews for today's lesson. Okay, Giselle, go ahead.
The 5 things I learned in today's lesson is to make eye contact, to have very good posture, to your back is straight, tone and voice not robotic, to have a very firm handshake, and to choose the right words to say.
So language is very important. The words that we pick and choose, the way we say them, and like she said, our posture. We can't walk in slouching in an interview. We kind of have to conduct ourselves in a very professional manner. And also, another thing I forgot to mention was the clothing you wear to an interview. You're not going to walk in looking too casual. You want to walk in looking business casual. That's what I call it. Something very, nice and simple, but also very chic and professional looking. So I'm glad that we had our first class today and that it went smoothly, and I hope all of you guys learned. If you have any more questions, you can come and see me after class today. Bye now.